The climb to success. That's today's topic for this installment of the Ollie Cantos Visionary series. I'm actually going to use the world here, or our surroundings, to illustrate something really important. And I'm going to do this because I want you to remember, when it comes to success, how the climb just requires consistency, but I'm going to get into more detail. So just imagine ahead here that this represents how far you want to go. All the way up there represents the success that you want to attain. But it basically requires taking one step. So what does that mean? Imagine if we were to be consistent in that. When we look ahead for how far the heck that looks away, it almost seems like, oh my gosh, that's way the heck up there from way down here. So what do? I'm going to talk with you about that now. And the key here to understand is that whenever we look at a faraway goal, it can seem practically impossible for us to be able to really know the extent to which we can really be successful, especially when, like right now, it's kind of dark. You probably have difficulty seeing my face if I remember this whole area being described right. And so, how frequently have we sort of felt like we're in the dark, where we really don't really see very much of where we're going, and we might actually think that we're not really going anywhere. But even though we just think that we're just sort of standing in one place, in reality, we see that we're still moving. But of course, that doesn't just happen on its own. It happens because our climb to success entails several elements. It entails having a true, deep, and abiding sense of gratitude for all that we have, but also taking action every day that shows how grateful we are for what we have. It also entails having a specific action plan of a roadmap, which it would be a roadmap of what exactly we need to do each day. And we know what needs to be done. If we look at our broadest goals and break them down into objectives and break those down into timelines, we really do know what we need to do if we just thought about it enough and really came up with some specifics. But in addition to that, another element is consistency. Because we could have the best of intentions, we could take the best of actions, but then, we have to be consistent every day, which is what moves us up the stairway or the escalator to success, depending on what analogy you might want to use. And so the question is, well, what happens when you finally reach the top? And what happens when you finally reach the top literally is success. And then, before you know it, we're already here. We've already made it. We're at the top. And just to sort of remind you or show you how far we've come, when we look back down of where we came from, you can't even see where we were. You can't even see it from here. Because the angle of how far we've come, it almost seems like, oh my gosh, how far did we go? But why is that important? It's important because when we look at where we've been and we see how far we've come and we remain consistent in what we need to do, then our level of success will be so high as to be beyond what we initially thought possible. But by being consistent every day and by taking actions, and look what happens. And so as we look ahead, look at how far we've come. And so we're heading back down now, all the way that far down. But this time, to just use an analogy, just imagine that as we head down the other direction, don't think of it as failure, but just in this instance, just imagine that we're making our way forward. We might be afraid of heights. We might wonder how can we actually get down there safely? That could be our new goal for the purposes of this analogy. But as you notice, very gradually, but yet very consistently, we are heading to where we need to be. So in this case, our goal is to get to the bottom. Not to say that we're returning to our failure or returning to where we were when we started dreaming about success, but more that we need to return to the present, and we need to make sure that we have in the present day a sense of where we're going. We've already figuratively looked at what happens when we are on the climb to success. But what happens is, as we do that, and as we continue to stay focused, then all sorts of wonderful things happen. And in this particular case, as we return back down to where we were, it's also a way for me figuratively to say that we must always focus on where we are, but within the context of where we want to go. In other words, we need to have one foot in the present day, so that way we can take the actions needed for us to move forward successfully. So we must always be grounded in the present, but we must also be solid and secure about what we visualize for the future. Because as we do that, then that's how we're able to succeed. So now we're back. We're back down here. And now, as I close this, I want to leave you with this thought that on the climb to success, as we work to enhance our own abilities, to enhance our own progress toward the things that are important to us, we must always, always remember that when we are consistent and when we combine it with a vision of what we want to do, then that is how we will be successful. But what will also enable us to be successful will be when we make sure to have a why behind our what. In other words, have the driving force as to why we want what we want. Then when we have that powerfully behind us, then that will be like the rocket fuel that we will need to propel us forward. So you take good care, everybody. Make sure to click on the link below, and I am looking forward to doing business with you. There are a lot of wonderful things that we can do together, and it starts by you clicking on that link. Take care, and we will see you soon.